Welcome to Pharmacomms TV. Today we're speaking with Elisabeth Mostofi, who's Global Marketing Director with Novartis. Elisabeth, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Neil. Thanks very much for your time this afternoon.
I'm delighted to have you on Pharmacomms TV. We had a discussion before this, and it's there's some fascinating topics in there. We touched on this before, the idea that inequality can be subtle. So can you talk about how systemic inequality can be subtle? I mean, it's prevalent across many areas.
When we look at the clinical trials, we have made huge research and providing real-world evidence, data, and insights to help reduce bias and increase transparency. We know that certain blood pressure lowering drugs have a different impact in different ethnicities. And here I'm looking on people with a black skin versus Caucasian, for instance. And meanwhile, we know that there is a difference. But at the beginning, of the treatment plans, this was not known. And meanwhile, there is a big endeavor also for new drugs that are currently being investigated in clinical trials to really investigate the pharmacological effects in different ethnic groups.
In addressing some of these challenges, technology has been, it's been a huge enabler for many people in a lot of ways.
Technology can both be an enabler as well as a barrier. Me and my colleagues and all our colleagues that are field-based, feel somewhat acquainted to this technology. We need to help our customers to feel the same so that you can have this kind of confident dialogue over the new means. We also see, a totally different area now. How does a patient engage with a physician? And I think during the COVID pandemic, a lot of patient-physician interaction has gone down, particularly for patients that have chronic diseases that would not be in a life-threatening stage. It was very difficult, to get into a kind of a clinical setting. And I'm looking here towards asthma patients or chronic patients, with diabetes, for instance, or even when you need your blood pressure drugs, for instance. Now, some countries made a very nice endeavor to use the pharmacy network to help patients refill the medication. That's very, very good. But it did not enable the patient-physician dialogue.
So if there's people out there that go, I want to be part of this conversation, this dialogue, I want to implement something, but how do I convince other people in my organization to do it, and what might be the first steps?
It's a matter of trial. And I think overall, we need to allow everybody to come on board. We cannot simply, overrule, let's say, the factors of change that someone has to undertake in order to acquaint and to feel comfortable in a certain situation. So that's a very basic psychological step. And I would think in this instance, it's not so different if it's a virtual setting versus a real setting. I want to give you also an example of technology and how it helps. And I'm looking here at African countries that usually have a very low access to medication. And, apart from a few big cities, you have a lot of rural areas. But what you have in those areas is a very high penetration of cell phones. And many, let's say, interaction between medical or paramedical people and patients is happening over the phone and has always been happening over the phone because that's their means of communication. So it seems that in those areas where you don't have any other choice, right, this technology can help. And also the trust would be there.